Every once in a while we get an update that changes the course and direction of VR, and this is one of those weeks. It seems like it was just yesterday that the Quest received a new update, and already another update is on the way in the form of the V65 public test channel. And this update reveals something that could change everything, and means we finally might be able to take a leap towards full haptic gloves. But that's not everything. From 2 new headsets announced from Pimax, a new scene script boundary update, and the first integration of multimodal hand tracking. We have all this and a lot more, so strap in for this week's worth of VR news. So before we dive into the new V65 PTC, let's talk about what we can do now. The latest V64 update came with a few new features that weren't listed in the release notes, and interestingly don't actually seem to be rolled out for all users, even with the latest update. You might remember a few months ago Meta started to release a multi-modal hand tracking SDK, where your hands and controllers were tracked independently of one another. And now for some, you can actually test this out within your own home environment. Now the multi-modal hand tracking has its variants, depending on what the developer allows. This one, for example, in your home environment will allow you to track one controller and your hand independently of each other. You should be able to test this now by just placing one controller down, and you'll notice one of the hands will automatically be tracked and the other will be tracked by controller. The multimodal tracking is going to be really handy for some games and experiences. The potential for this is kind of endless, so who knows what developers will cook up with this. Another feature available is based off scene script recognition software Meta has been testing, where the cameras on the Quest actually understand what's inside the environment. I couldn't actually get this to work on my headset, so I'll be interested to know if you all can, but essentially when you complete a scan of your environment by pressing add furniture at the end, your Quest will automatically add doors, windows, tables and TVs, which is pretty cool. But what I'd like to see in the future is more accurate mapping. You might have noticed in pass-through, depending on how your furniture is set up, occlusion is possible in some experiences. But depending on the shape of the object, it's still definitely not perfect. But we are heading in the right direction. But sometimes it's easy to forget that there is more headsets than just the Quest. With these frequent updates, they are pushing the boundaries, and because of that it can be hard to compete. But another company taking the PC VR front is Pimax. A few days ago, they announced 2 headsets and 1 product, the Crystal Super, the Crystal Lite, and their new 60Hz wireless dongle. Now, I have a Pimax Crystal, and after many bug fixes, this is a good PC VR headset, with excellent audio and a high visual clarity. But they have gone a step further with a new Pimax called the Pimax Crystal Super, a 4K per eye, high field of view, micro OLED headset for the price of $1,799. These headsets are sort of a here's everything and see what you can do headset, which is both a good and a bad thing. The Quest is easy to set up and get going, whereas the Pimax on the other hand is not. But once it is going, the experience is kind of insane, especially for sim games. Another headset that was announced was a much cheaper PC VR headset, which I think is the better option. It's called the Crystal Lite and is being sold at a price of $699. This, in my opinion, is the better out of the two, as it has a resolution of 2880 by 2880 per eye, which is a lot higher than the Quest 2064 by 2208. Now, this is a purely PC VR headset with a DisplayPort cable, no wireless capability, and while $699 sounds expensive, it still is relatively cheap in the PC VR space. And at that resolution, that is a really good deal. Both headsets have interchangeable optional lighthouse tracking and an optional OLED backlight for an extra cost. But probably the most interesting announcement was the 60Hz Airlink. This promises basically a zero latency PC VR experience, but using the 60Hz frequency, in their words, interference is kept at basically 0, giving that low latency. But from what I know, the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength, so it might struggle to pass through walls or doors, for example. But back to the Quest. So literally within a week, a new update is rolling out on the public test channel, V65, and according to the strings, it looks like to bring some interesting new features. But starting with the bad news, it seems all references to augments have since been removed. It did seem like augments were imminent, as they were promised earlier this year, but maybe there has been an internal shift to focus on something else. But it is clear what's coming with the next update. To start, travel mode is highly referenced within the strings, and we even get this image to show what to expect. Now, you can't currently use Quest inside things that accelerate, as it's the acceleration of the Quest that helps determine its position. I'd imagine travel mode would disable most of the tracking features in favour of more of a 3DoF hybrid experience. I don't actually know why they got rid of 3DoF in the first place. Using the Quest as a TV screen at night is something I used to do, and this is only now possible with lights in my room, so the tracking would be enabled, which is kind of annoying. Another feature that looks like it's coming within V65 is AI generated skyboxes. You can already change your skybox now, but what this will basically do is allow access to Meta's generative image generation model, which will most probably let you type in what you want your skybox to be and will generate and change your skybox to whatever you want within seconds. Taking this a step further though, a company called Blockade Labs allows you to generate these incredibly realistic 360 environments, but you can also have the option to turn these 360 environments into dynamic 3D meshes, which would enable real 3D environments from a single prompt. This could be the direction Meta is heading with this, with the start being custom skyboxes. But you might initially think Meta wouldn't partner up with a company like Blockade Labs, as it is a third-party company. But this might not actually be true. According to several leaked strings, Meta might actually allow third-party controllers to be paired with the Quest, with most references to Meta controllers being changed to fit a more generic term, and loads of references to third-party controllers being paired. This could be because of the launch of the upcoming Quest 3S, and the rumour that it may come without controllers, or simply maybe because Meta wants to let the community design and distribute the controllers, saving them the manufacturing hassle. I do feel like we are at a point where the tracking of the Quest controllers is near perfect, but to allow third-party controllers would be game-changing, literally. We could see accessories for specific games like actual golf clubs, tennis rackets, or taking things a step further, it actually makes haptic gloves now a space for competition. With the option to allow companies to innovate on controllers, this will almost certainly open up an entirely new market of competition. But I'd be interested to know what your perfect controller would be. Mine would be something closer to the Knuckles controller with individual finger sensors. Lastly, I just want to talk about a few games because I've been in the VR space for a while now and I've never seen such incredible games come in such a short time span. I know some of you are not a fan of zombie games, but this might just change that. Zombie Army VR showcased yesterday, and it looks like the VR game we've all been looking for. No janky movements or arcade style graphics. This looks like a proper VR game and is coming later this year. Another game coming this year is the opposite to Superhot. Clearly an indirect but intentional reverse clone, Cold VR does the opposite of Superhot, where time only moves when you stand still. You can actually play the demo on PC VR, but this is also coming to Quest shortly this year. And next week is finally the release of Contractors Showdown. If you played the beta, you'll know this is going to be the PUBG of VR, and in my opinion, puts all VR battle royales to shame. With a proper progression system, hopefully this game can stand the test of time. Lastly, for those watching the Fallout series and fancy giving Fallout VR a go, it's currently discounted on Steam for $12.49, and I'll also put a mod pack in the description to make the game more enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed today's video, like and subscribe if you did, and become a member if you'd like to support the channel. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.